Hi, I'm Michelle Chalfant, psychotherapist, holistic life coach, and human just like you, learning to navigate life's challenges. With over 25 years experience, I teach people how to get healthy using the adult chair model. The adult chair model is where simple psychology meets grounded spirituality, and it teaches us how to become healthy adults. From anxiety and depression to codependency and relationship issues, you can use the adult chair for just about anything. Each week, I share practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and a wide range of experts on how to get unstuck, how to live authentically, and how to truly love yourself, all while sitting in your adult chair. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. As always, I am happy to be sitting here with you in the adult chair. I am Michelle Chalfant, and today we have a very special guest. We have Michelle Poehler on, and we are going to be talking all about fear, and what an appropriate topic for at this point in our life. I wanted to just let all of you know, because I know we have a lot of new people coming on every single week. Number one, for my listeners that have been around for a long time, we are on YouTube. We are on video. So if you guys want to actually watch us do the show, just go to my YouTube channel at Michelle Chalfant, and you can watch us now on video. But also, if you're new to the show and you want to learn more about the adult chair model, and you want to learn how to get unstuck, improve your relationships, and learn how to love yourself, just go to theadultchair.com. There's so much information there. You can learn all about the adult chair model there. All right, everybody, we're going to jump right in with Michelle Poehler. She is born and raised in Caracas, Venezuela. She's the founder of Hello Fears, a social movement empowering millions to step outside of the comfort zone and tap into their full potential. She's spoken at TEDx, Google, Inbound, Facebook, and more. She's also the creator of the project 100 Days Without Fear. And in 2017, she started speaking to the younger generation. And since then, she's empowered over 20,000 students at schools and universities around the world to live with courage, find their authenticity, and embrace their growth paths. Love all of that. Welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast, Michelle Poehler.
Hello, happy to be here.
Yay, happy to have you. I would just love to start out by hearing a little bit more about your story. So how'd you go from Venezuela to who you are and where you are today? Tell us.
Wow.
You've done some really cool things. The 100 Days Without Fear, Hello Fears. I love this. So let us know. How did you get here today? A little bit more about you.
So, I was born and raised in Venezuela. I lived there for the first 19 years of my life. Things were not okay. They're still not okay today. Yeah. So I wanted to look for a better future for myself. Mm-hmm. I was also already with who now is my husband, but we were boyfriend and girlfriend at the time. This was in 2007. We both decided to move to the US to go to college. Not together, but at the same time. He went to Florida, I went to Savannah, Georgia. I graduated from from SCAD there, Savannah College of Art and Design, as an art director, graphic designer, found a job in advertising, got married right after college with Adam, my husband.
Wow.
We both moved to Miami. And, I found a really good job in advertising. I was living a very comfortable life. We were newly married. I was 23. He was 25. I had a good job. I had a nice apartment. Everything was like too perfect.
Yeah.
And so I started having sort of mild panic attacks because I was like, this is too perfect.
Because it was
23.
too perfect.
Yeah, because it was too perfect.
Yeah,
I'm that girl. I'm complaining about my perfect life. No, I just felt that I was way too young to be in such, I felt like an adult too early in my life. Like I was like, wait, no, I'm not ready to adult. I'm ready to continue hustling. And I don't feel like I'm hustling enough. I feel way too comfortable. Like, I feel that I already had such a nice apartment with 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. We were thinking about having kids. And I'm like, I'm only 23. I don't know. It feels like I need more challenges in my life. I need to earn this comfort more than it just happened. And I was not feeling like I was living life to the fullest. I felt like I settle for what society tells you to settle, right? Have a good
Yeah.
job, have
Yeah.
a husband, be a good girl,
You
all
should
the
be
things.
happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Don't
Yeah.
complain. All my
Yeah.
friends were doing the same thing. So if I looked around, everybody was in the same kind of boat with me and they were happy. They were not questioning what they were doing like I was. So I started going to therapy and I didn't know what was happening. And very quickly, we discovered that I had this dream for my entire life to move to New York. And that's something that I never did, and I was still on time.
Mm-hmm.
So my therapist encouraged me to pursue the idea of moving to New York. I found out about a master program in branding, which I discovered that it was my biggest passion, not advertising
Wow.
like I thought. So
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah.
working in advertising, I was hating it, and I realized branding was my thing. And so when I found out about this program at the School of Visual Arts in New York, I knew that I had to go. I had to move, I had to do a master program. And so my husband told me, if you get in, we'll move. And it was really hard to get in. Only 25 people a year get into
Wow.
the program out of
Mm-hmm.
thousands that apply. But that was my ticket to my best life. So I did everything in my power to get in. Like I got really creative. I took a lot of risks and I got it. I got in.
Wow.
Yes. So we moved to New York, and at that time it was we were already married for 3 years by that point, because I was, I think, already 25 or 26 years old, and all my friends were starting to have babies. Everybody around us that got married after having babies, and we're like, no, we're going to New York.
Yeah.
We're starting an adventure. And so my plan was to go to school. It was only 1 year, so graduate, then spend one more year in New York enjoying, and then coming back to Miami and having kids. That was like my perfect plan. And as I was doing my master's in branding, I was challenged to do a 100-day project of my choice. So the entire class had to start a 100-day project. Basically, you have to choose one thing you want to do repeatedly for 100 days in a row. It can be anything, as long as it's something that helps you grow or improve in some way. And it's a very universal project. It starts every year in April. This year starts in April 7th, so only a few days from today. But if you're listening in the future, then it already started, but it's fine. You can start that at any point in your life. I mean, I've done many 100-day projects by this time, and I don't always do it in April. It's cool because everybody is using the hashtag the 100-day project globally, and you find other people that are doing 100 things, and it's pretty cool. So I didn't know what to do. I thought about doing something in branding, since I was studying branding, something fun, something easy that I can do every day. But then I realized that that was a once in a lifetime opportunity that I could use to change my future. And I was like, if I take this opportunity seriously and I do something big enough, it has the potential to change my life and my career. And I'm in New York, I'm starting from scratch my life. I want to be this authentic person that I couldn't find before. So I realized that my fears were constantly limiting my potential and getting in the way of my goals and my dreams. So it was the perfect time for me to embark on this project of facing 100 fears in 100 days. I called the project 100 Days Without Fear, which now I realize it was not a good idea, because it was not 100 days without fear. It was 100 days with a lot of fear, but 100 days of bravery.
With extreme
right?
fear. Yeah.
Extreme fear. I spent my entire life avoiding fear, like sheltering myself in my comfort zone. And suddenly I went from one day to the other to saying yes to all of the things that I once avoided. So I started writing down a list of fears. I wrote down 20 things, and I was like, let's start. So
this is like everyone's life. I'm writing down, like, my fears were limiting my potential. Like, who doesn't have that? Right. But most of us like dance around that fear and we don't go right into it. So you went into it for 100 days in a row. Okay. Sorry. I'm like listening to you like, wow. I'm thinking how many people are resonating with what you're saying, because all of our fears get in the way of everything that we want to do in our future. That scares us. So we just don't do it or we avoid it. So, okay, sorry, I
Right. And we
interrupted, but
have,
it's hitting me
no.
as you're talking. I'm like, wow, that's a big statement you made. So sorry, keep going.
Yeah, it is. It is true for absolutely everybody. Our
Everybody.
fears get in the way. And then it depends on your level of ambition. Because if you don't have much, ambition in life and you just want to settle and do as you're told, then it's okay to have all those fears and not even pay
Yeah.
attention to them. But if you have more ambition than that, you actually want to get somewhere, be someone,
Mm-hmm.
create something that is meaningful and memorable, maybe you do have to start embracing your fears and run with that.
Yes. Yes.
And so I had a lot of ambition since I was little. Since I was very little, I was like, I want to be famous. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. And maybe I should start singing, but I was terrible singing. So I was like, I need to find out something else. So I like the spotlight. I like recognition. I like to, people knowing who I am. So, but I didn't know how that was going to happen. I just knew I had to do something about it.
Yeah.
And so it was like my fears are in the way of my dreams. I can't allow that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to do it is by tackling all of my fears head on, becoming a braver person, and then I'll be able to become the person I want to be. So I started doing that. I started facing one fear a day and uploading a video to YouTube, because that was part of the assignment. We had to make it public, whatever we were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so every day I uploaded a new video of me facing a different fear, and they were pretty funny. And I put a lot of effort into the videos and to the branding of the project. I mean, I was studying branding. I'm an art director.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
videos look very nice. They have like funny music and they're very entertaining. And so I faced 40 fears, right? Back to back, one every day. And then around that day 40, I was about to quit the project because it was getting way too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize how expensive this could get. I was like, I'll be facing my fears, I'll just do random things. It shouldn't be that expensive, but no, it was. We had to rent cars, even stay at hotels to do some of the activities, paying activities like rappel, skydiving, all of those are very expensive.
Skydiving.
Yes. No,
Oh
it was
my gosh.
getting out of hand. Yeah.
That's
and
insane.
so
I can't
at that point, my
imagine
husband
doing
said,
that.
I'm loving.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh my God. Yeah. No. So he was like, Michelle, I'm sorry. Like, this is a really good project. You're definitely changing and this is great for us. But this is getting out of hand. Maybe we get to day 50 and then we continue the other 50 in the future. Because right now it's financially it's not sustainable. I mean, we're living in New York. We don't have the best salaries here. It's really expensive. So, and I was like, yeah, you're right. Maybe I should just stop at fear 50 anyways, when
you just said something. Can I interrupt you just for a second? You just said that your husband said to you, so Michelle, we're doing all this and you're changing. So were you noticing a change within yourself around 50? I'm curious because I'm thinking of myself or anyone listening to this, like, we are so afraid of stepping into that fear. We're so afraid of doing that little thing. Even like, I remember when my marketing girl said, you need to do a Facebook Live. I'm like, what? I don't want to do a Facebook Live. That's terrifying. Like terrifying. And then you do it. And it's like, and I remember when I did my first one a few years ago, I go, gosh, that was so much fun. Right. So I realized like, wow, that changed me a little bit, but you're on 50 of them in. What are you noticing when you're going through all of your fears? Like what's changing inside of you when you're walking into your fears and doing what exactly scares you?
Well, my entire life, I avoided fear because I thought that when I felt the fear inside of my body, it was a sign that this was not a good idea.
Yeah, so that you shouldn't do it.
I shouldn't do it. Yeah. My body's telling me something. Yeah. My stomach is hurting. Yeah. I'm shaking. My heart is racing. That's a sign. I should listen to my body. My body's telling me, don't do it.
Yeah.
And I did it over and over and over again. And every single time, the actual challenge was not as bad as what I had in my head before. Not even one time. It was as bad.
So wait, were you doing the same thing every day or you were doing different things every single day?
Fears.
Every single day.
Different fears. Yeah. Wow. And I started with simple fears, but still things I avoided. For example, my fear number 2 was to eat an oyster. I never in my life like
I'm with
considered
you. I'm kind of
eating
with
an
you there.
oyster.
Yeah.
It took me like 15 minutes to put it in my mouth and swallow it. No, it was hard. I had to spit it out. It was like, it's not pretty. So yeah, that was, a simple fear for a lot of people. For me, it was still bad, but not as bad as, something like skydiving, which I
I was
did
going
as
to say, I can't even
like
imagine.
fear 50 something or 60 or something. But so I started small, right? Like
Yeah.
eating an oyster. And then I went to my friend's house and I held her cat. I am very afraid of cats. I'm even allergic to them. I don't know. And I did that. That was like very simple, but still a big step for me. And then I got a Brazilian wax, something I avoided because I don't like pain. And I
Yeah.
got a piercing, and I started doing all these little things, one
Yeah.
a day.
They kept
And so
building and building.
exactly, I was building my courage and my confidence.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you notice your confidence was like starting to change as you're going along?
Yeah, and
So
after you do
cool.
one, you're like, that was not that bad. Let's do one more
Mm.
and see. And so I did one more, and then
Yeah.
every single day was like a nightmare, actually, because I was facing my fears. I was waking up, I had stomachache as soon as I woke up because I'm like, oh, I'm in the middle of this project
I can
again.
imagine.
This was not a nightmare. This is real. I put myself in this position. I have to continue doing it. So,
Yeah.
but every day at night, I was like relief, like, I did it, and it was not as bad. Actually, some of them were really fun. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I have so many
So
examples. I mean,
cool.
100.
Wow.
But then what
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you is that
Yeah.
at around fear 40, when we were about to just quit the project went viral from one day to the other. It hit
My
the
goodness.
Daily Mail, like pretty big network and like media outlet in UK. So it was there,
Wow.
the Daily Mail, and like in the next hour, it was in so many other websites that I follow, that BuzzFeed, Board Panda, Design Taxi. Many websites started sharing my story and my project and my videos. And then shortly after, it started going viral all over the world. So it was in
Wow.
Italy, it was in Asia, it was in Latin America, Russia. They were interviewing me from Channel One, Russia. It
Oh
was,
my gosh.
yeah, it blew up just like that. And after that point, we were able to continue with the project because brands were sponsoring the fears. Like if I wanted to
Wow.
do skydiving, which I was saying it's really expensive, we would call 5 different companies and say, do you want to sponsor our jump? You don't need to pay us. You just need to allow us to do it for free, and we will put your logo in the video. And everybody
Wow.
said yes, because we had thousands of views in our videos, and suddenly people started following the project. So I went from 0 followers on YouTube to thousands of followers in like a week, and
Wow.
many thousands of views on the videos. So
Wow.
that's how we were able to finish the project and be able to
What a
manage that financially.
story. Wow. So then what happened after the 100 days? You just kept growing and growing
No,
and growing?
so that was definitely a challenge to like go from day 100 to day 101. But I'm glad I faced the 100th fear, because the
Yeah.
100th fear was to speak at TEDx. It was my fear of public
Wow.
speaking.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect moment to face that. And also, at the same time that I was facing my fear, to give a very positive message and encourage people to go after their own fears.
Mm.
I always wanted my last fear to have impact, like greater impact than the rest. So TEDx was a great way to do that. And they accepted me to go and present at TEDx Houston. So we went there, I spoke there, and then there was a speaker that day who was the closing speaker at TEDx, and he saw me speak and he was like, Michelle, you should be a speaker. And I was like, what do you
Mm.
mean I should be a speaker? I mean, my plan was to go back to New York after TEDx and apply for a job and use my project as a portfolio piece.
Yeah.
I wanted to work at Instagram or YouTube or one of the big companies. And then he's like, no, forget about that. You will become a speaker. That was amazing. You can charge a lot of money for speaking. And I was like, what do you mean? I didn't know speaking was a career and you could get
Mhm.
paid for that. So he was like, give me a call. I'll tell you all about it. So he's a really recognized speaker. He's doing amazing, and he saw the potential in me, and he took me through the process. And so I ended up, I quit my job in advertising. My husband quit his job in finance, and we, together
Yeah.
embarked on the journey
Yeah.
of like keynote speaking and motivational speaking. And so that is my way now to inspire as many people as possible to go after their own fears. And we've been doing it for the last 4 years. So for 4 years, I started speaking to in front of 30 people. And now the biggest event we've done is in front of 20,000 people.
Wow. Congratulations. Holy moly. What a
Thank you.
story. What
Yeah.
a story. I love it. I love it. So I want to ask you some questions about fear. How do we live or deal with the unknown and embrace change? What would you say to that?
Ooh,
Yeah.
big question right there.
Yeah, we're just going
Right?
to jump right in.
So the way that I like to perceive change and the unknown
Yeah.
is as a challenge instead of as an obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you perceive situations that go out of your control as obstacles, you're going to get stuck. And it will be really hard for you to make progress and adapt to a new reality. And that is exactly what we're going through right now with coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
And if you stay in denial, you will just be in the past, living in the past. The past is gone. We're now in the present, and we have to start planning for our future. And the only way to do that is by perceiving change and the unknown as a challenge. So if you try to change your perspective and say, this is here, I don't like it, I don't want change, but what can I do about it? Right? In that moment, when you accept the reality, like radically accept what's happening, you open new doors.
Yeah.
And so that is the best we can do at this moment. And so, for example, my business is public speaking, like I just described. That means I am on planes at least 3 or 4 times a week, even up to 5 times a week, going from city to city, speaking in front of thousands of people on stage. That is gone. I cannot do that. My events, they've all been canceled. I had 8 events in April, 2 events at the last week of March. They didn't happen. They're not going to happen. My May events, I'm actually publishing my book in May of this year. I had a whole book tour plan. That's not happening. So I have 2 options. I can, reject what's happening and stay in the past and victimize myself, right? And say, why is this happening to me? Why in the middle of my book launch? But that's not going to take me anywhere. That's just going to get me stuck. So I need to perceive this as a challenge and say, okay, what can I do now? If I don't have my conferences, I don't have any of that, what can I do from my home? And so what I did is I said, what if I could do a live online conference where I invite everybody, all of my audience, to buy a ticket to watch me present, just as if they would buy a ticket to go watch me in person, but they will see me live. I was like, I don't know if this will work. This is an experiment. I haven't seen other speakers do this at this point. Just sell one-time event, 2 hours with me live on a Sunday. Let's do it. So we sold over 400 tickets to that event. Yeah. And it was at $50. So it was not a cheap event. It was what I would charge anyways if people want to come and see me. So we did that experience, and people were so thankful. They said it's the only thing they were looking forward to in this quarantine. And they felt so inspired with the event and just being together with other 400 people plus 100 guests that I had. It was over 500 people in the Zoom, and it was just an amazing feeling. And so that was my way of embracing change and say, okay, that happened. What can I do now? And I did that. And people were so happy because there were people from all over the world. They were saying this. They said, thank God for coronavirus, because now I was able to watch Michelle, because people live in Greece or for steal. And they're like, you never come here. So finally I have a chance to see you because of this. So that's how you change things around. And now we're pitching my conference to clients, but online. So I already started doing some corporate events online too. So,
Wow.
it's a matter of getting to work.
Yeah, and I think it is finding that there's a silver lining in everything, but we have to look for it. And I think people either get stuck in that fear or they force themselves and they have that will to see through it. Would you agree with something like that? Right?
Yes, exactly. So old Michelle would have
Yeah.
been stuck, would have been,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
not seeing the possibilities. But this new
The
Michelle is all about,
possibilities. Yeah, it is
yes,
about seeing the possibilities, but there's got to be that internal part of us that says, wait a minute, and if we can't see it, we have to cling to the hope that there might be something good that comes out of this whole thing, right?
yes. Actually, I did a post today on Instagram. If you look for at Hello Fears on Instagram, not
Mm-hmm.
Michelle Poller, but Hello Fears, you
Okay.
will see it. Well, probably if you're listening to this in the future, look for it. It's a pink post with a white bubble in the middle, and it says,
Mm-hmm.
"What's the best that can happen if the worst happens?" And I
Mm,
ask people, "What's the best that can happen if you get fired? If you run out
yeah.
of business, if nobody needs your service nowadays, if what is the best that can happen?" Because it changes the perspective,
Yes.
makes you look to
Mm-hmm.
the other side that you're not looking at right now. And I'll show you something. So if you're watching the YouTube, guys, and if not, you should go watch this video on YouTube because you'll be missing out on what I'm going to share with you. So that question is in my book right
Oh, I
here.
love that. I love
And
that.
this all started when my therapist asked me how I felt about my book. This was months ago,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe a year ago even. And I told her that I was very afraid because I had a very high expectations of my book, how this book is going to perform, how many people will buy it. And she challenged me to write an essay to my future self, um, imagining that the worst happened and trying
Mm-hmm.
to get the best out of the worst. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, nope, I'm not doing the challenge because I don't want to even envision the possibility of the
Yeah.
worst happening, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's like,
Yeah.
Michelle, this will be a good exercise. Trust me, do it. Okay. I started writing that letter. It ended up being such a beautiful letter that it became the acknowledgments page in my book,
Oh
because
my
I
gosh.
acknowledge myself. I acknowledge everybody that helped me, my husband, my parents, my friends, my editors. And after writing that letter, I felt so much joy and gratitude that it was
Mm,
so worth it doing
so
that
beautiful.
exercise.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that.
Yeah. I want to challenge everybody listening to
Yeah, for
answer
sure.
that. What's the
For
best that can
sure.
happen if the worst happens?
Because I think people, and even now, it's almost like we're circling the drain with the fear. And I hear from people, and I personally know people where there is no income coming. The income is not coming in. Like they
Mhm.
cannot work and they're really worried. What would you say to someone like that? Like what we need to give them hope. What would you say? Or if you were to give them hope, how can you give them hope?
Well, we're not going to be in this situation forever.
It's
And
temporary.
it's temporary,
Yeah.
that is for sure. And it is important that we use this time wisely.
Mhm.
That yes, it is okay to cry, it is okay to
Yes.
feel all the feelings that we're experiencing. We are all in the same boat.
Yeah.
But also we have to question what we were doing before and think if that is the actual life you want to continue living after this is all over.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the job that you lost the job of your dreams, or was there something better for you that you were settling, and you were not pursuing because you were so comfortable in that job? Now you don't have that, you don't have the comfort. What is the actual dream that you can pursue once this is
Mm-hmm.
over?
Yeah.
So it's a reflective time, a time for us to look inside, challenge ourselves, to ask ourselves difficult questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
I
yeah.
like that. And and I talk with people a lot about, like, what's that inner voice saying? There's a call from your soul that says, and I think yours was knocking on you on the inside going, wait a minute, when you were just having that life where you were just married and working, but you were like, something inside of me is telling me I need to do something else. I got to go to New York. I got to get a master's. And I think if we go inside and we really listen to that voice, it does guide us, but we got to be willing to listen and pay attention and go into, like you said, I preach this, go into the feelings of fear, go into them, and you come out on the other side with new information.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about just a little bit about daring to fail. Because if people have the idea that they may fail, I realize people just don't, we're not going to do it at all. We're not doing it. There's too much fear again in the way. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So I have a hard time talking about failure and my personal failures, because I was able to redefine failure in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I only perceive failure something that I didn't do, something that I didn't pursue. That is when I feel I failed.
Yeah.
Doing
I like that.
something and getting it wrong, making a mistake and then having to start over, I don't perceive that as failure. I perceive that as a lot of bravery and courage that you took to do it, and just as a learning experience.
Yeah.
So the only time you fail is the time you fail to try. It's the time where you should do something, but you convince yourself that is better not to, because comfort, because safety, because fear.
Mm-hmm.
If any of those three are the reasons why you decide not to pursue something, you're definitely in the wrong path. Like, that's all I said. I made a commitment to myself and I said, I'm never going to allow fear to get in the way of my goals. Even if I fail, I can't even say fail in the
Right. It's
way
just an
that the rest of
experience.
the world perceive fail.
Mm-hmm.
So in my book, I have a whole chapter about failure. These are 10 chapters. Every chapter tackles a different fear. And of course, fear of failure had to be in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is so important. And that's the one chapter I was stuck, completely stuck. I didn't know what to write, because I'm like, I really like repurpose that word in my head to the point that I don't know how to write about it. And so it was so hard, but I was able to crack the code, give it a twist, and finally I'm able to communicate through this chapter how I perceive failure. Not only communicate it, but also change anybody's mindset, that whoever is reading this will perfectly understand what I'm trying to say. So that's what I would say. Fail. This is a time for failure, actually. Coronavirus, I mean, the world is failing. Let's just go with it and try something new, and accept that it may not go the way we want to, but also understand that it will teach us way more than if we don't even try it.
Yeah, I agree. It's like we're caught in an avalanche and we're trying to stop it. And it's like, we got to just go with it and see where we land when all of this is done. You said this, the real enemy of success, it's not failure, it's comfort. I loved that. I love that. And I like when you said redefining fear from an obstacle to an opportunity. And I think if we can look at it like an opportunity, I love that you said that as well. It's like, how can we redefine fear? Again, I like when we were talking about, like, reframing what's going on like right now into maybe there's an opportunity that's going to come, but we've got to be open, because fear, as you know, talk a little bit about fear and how it really narrows our vision, and we can't see as much when we're sitting in fear. It's like we're looking like this instead of like, oh my gosh, what are the possibilities and the opportunities that are coming for me? Maybe, but I gotta notice them. And if I'm in fear, I can't see them. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. I have a really good question that you can ask yourself in that situation. And it's what I do. And it's the best tool that I can share with you right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it all starts with the very popular question that people use to encourage other people to go face a fear. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
Right? When you're about to do something scary and you're like, I don't know if I should do it or not. And people come to you and they're like, come on, what's the worst that can happen? Right? It's a well-intended question, but it's very wrong. It's not helpful at all. Because when we ask ourselves that question, what's the worst that can happen, we start thinking of the worst case scenarios. And yes, maybe it's not dying, and maybe we won't die if we apply for a job and we don't get it. But there are other consequences that still hurt us. Like it will hurt our ego pretty much. And so we don't want to do that. And
Right.
so it is so important that we stop asking ourselves or other people that question, and we reframe the question. And the question we should be asking is, what's the best that can happen?
Ooh,
Well,
that's good.
yeah, when
That's
you're
good,
about,
Michelle.
I know
Yeah.
it is, I don't know how that's not the actual
It's
question.
so simple.
It's so freaking
What's the
simple.
it is. What's the
What's
best that
the
can happen? I love
what's the
that.
best that can happen? Because that allows you to focus on the rewards instead of on the risk. So
Oh
if
my
you're
God, I love
about to
that.
ask for a promotion, you're about to maybe get out of the closet and,
Yeah.
say to the world that you're gay, or you're about to ask for a divorce, or you're about to say yes to a trip, or to whatever it is that you have in your mind, ask yourself, what's the best that can happen? And it's
Wow.
a happier life. That's the best that can happen. And probabilities are on your favor. Let me tell you, they say that only 10% of your worries will come true, something
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
So why live a life thinking that the worst is going to happen when the most likely thing that will happen is the best, right? And so that is my one question that I want to give you all. I want you to start thinking of that every time you have the idea to do something that is outside of your comfort zone.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Like, where has that question been?
Okay, and I'm telling you, I'll tell you where it comes
I love
from.
it. Yeah.
So one day I was talking to my mom. My mom is daughter of a Holocaust survivor.
Wow.
So yeah, so my grandparents went through the Holocaust, through concentration camps, survived that in Europe, moved to Venezuela, had my mom right there, and
Wow.
then my mom had me. So fear in my family, has been passed on from generation to generation. And I was raised with lots of fears. My mom was raised with countless fears. And so she, of course, goes to fear very quickly and to the negative outcomes and all of that. And so one day I was on the phone with her and she's like, what if she had to cook dinner for people that day or something, so, something very silly,
Mhm.
and
Right.
she was like,
Right.
what if they didn't show up? What if the it's not ready? What if it's not enough food? What if? And she started naming all of the worst possible case scenarios for such a simple life, situation.
Yeah.
And then she's going out of her head, out of control, just freaking out of all these things. What if this, and then what if that, and then what if that? And then I'm like, wait, mom, what if they do come? What if the food is ready? What if it's enough food and even more than enough? What if everybody likes it? What if? And then I'm like, what's the best that can happen? And she was like, huh, what an interesting question. I never thought of that. And then that night she calls me and she was like, you're so right. Everything worked out.
Wow.
And I'm like, and you spend so much time worrying about the negative, that imagine the energy that you lost just thinking about the things that could go wrong when everything just went right.
That's crazy. I love that. What's the best thing that can happen? The ego dictates so much of our lives and it's fear-based. So of course, we're always looking for what's going to happen, what's wrong, how can this go bad? So we really need to wake up to that. And I think I'm going to put that right on my bathroom mirror. That was so
Oh
good.
my
We
God,
need to hear
wait.
this every single day. Thank you for that. Oh, this was so good, Michelle. Thank you for today.
Oh no, my pleasure. I wanted to show you the page in the book where I have that quote,
Yeah.
because it's the most important quote in my book for sure, and it's a beautiful
What
page
is the name
there.
of your book? I'm going to put all
So,
this in the show notes.
oh
So,
my God, you have to see this page before.
love it. Love it. It's
So
awesome.
the
Yeah,
name of
I
the
need
book,
Hello Fears. Okay.
Hello Fears, Crush Your Comfort Zone and Become Who You're Meant to Be.
Oh my
It's
gosh, I love
on
it.
Amazon. You can find it. It's full of color, full
It
of
is. It looks like a
um,
beautiful book. Easy to
yeah,
read. I like easy to read with colors and pictures. That's my kind of book.
and also full of great questions that you will
Yeah.
start asking yourself.
That's what I like. You have some really great questions to really start shifting the mind and calming that ego part down and calming the fear down. So, but like you went through your 100 days, I don't know that we ever get to a place where there is no fear, but what I'm hearing you say is you just walk right through it, and then it's easier on the other side, and you realize, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, was so not a big deal on the other side.
Yes. I
In
think that the
fact,
only
you even said a lot of those things that were terrifying were like actually really great by the end. By the evening, you were like, I really enjoyed that today, even though I was scared.
yeah. I think I actually like this line or quote that says that the only things you will regret are the things you didn't do.
Yes.
I think that's how my project started. I was
Oh my
regretting
gosh.
not doing many things in my life. I never went backpacking.
Yeah.
I never went to camp. I never did so many things. And, I regretted them at 20, 25, 26 years old. And I'm so glad I did them now. I'm
Oh my
now
gosh. I
doing the
love
things.
it.
So I don't have
Love it.
regrets at the end of my life.
Where might people find you?
So I basically live on Instagram. My
Okay.
home is there. Go. Yeah, I have a nice room. Yeah, I'm not proud of that. I spend a lot of time on Instagram. So because I like to interact with the people that follow me.
Yep.
I post a lot of content. I like to challenge people every single day. I like to challenge myself and tell the stories there, like very simple challenges I do on the day to day. And
Love that.
I just share it. So go find Hello Fears
Okay.
on Instagram.
Okay.
And then if you want to watch the 100 days videos of me facing my fears, find Hello Fears on YouTube.
Hello, Fears.
And if you want to learn more about me as a speaker, you can go to michellepolar.com.
Okay. I'm putting this all in the show notes.
Great.
And I'm going to be following you on Instagram right when we are done here. I didn't see you.
Yay!
Okay. All right. Well, this was awesome. Thank you so much. This is so needed right now. And yeah, you are a gift. Thank you. Thank you for
Oh, thank
today.
you. I really
Thank you
enjoyed the
so much.
conversation.
Yeah, me
Bye.
too. So, all right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And again, if you want any more information on the Adult Chair, go to theadultchair.com. And I'm on Instagram at Michelle Chalfant. So I'm going to find you, Michelle Polar, at Hello Fears. And I'm going to be checking out your daily challenges. So thank you. And everybody, we will see you seated next week right here in the Adult Chair.